The galaxy was wide, full of stars, worlds, and empires that fought and traded across the endless dark. Ships flew from one system to another, carrying goods, soldiers, or messages of peace and war. Yet on every star map, there was one part left, blank. It was a stretch of space with no trade lanes, no patrols, and no stations. The maps marked it only as human territory, and no empire dared to cross inside. Aliens from many worlds had heard stories about this forbidden border. Some said it was cursed. Others claimed human weapons could burn entire fleets in minutes. Pirates whispered of hunters in the dark, ships that appeared without warning, struck like lightning, and then vanished before anyone could fire back. Traders swore they had seen shadows moving at the edges of their sensors when they passed too close. And those who ignored the warnings? They never returned. The young Rhinari historian, Kale, had always been fascinated by these tales. He belonged to a long-necked species with sharp eyes and delicate hands, a people who prized learning, above all else. While others laughed at the ghost stories, Kale collected them carefully. He spent hours in dusty archives reading forgotten reports. He spoke with smugglers who trembled as they recalled their close calls near human space. He wrote down every rumor and every detail, trying to see a pattern. The more Kale learned, the more obsessed he became. Why did no empire dare to cross into human space? Why did entire fleets vanish? Why did humans stay hidden, never reaching out, never seeking to conquer or trade? The galaxy was built on power and expansion, yet humans did neither. That, to Kale, was the greatest mystery of all. One evening, in the archives of the Grand Rhinari Library, Kale found an ancient record sealed under layers of warnings. It was nearly unreadable, but he pieced together enough to understand. Centuries ago, before the Council of Species was formed, a proud empire had sent a massive invasion into human space. What happened next was erased from most histories, but this record spoke of something chilling. The invaders were not only defeated, their entire fleet was erased so quickly that their empire collapsed within a generation. No one spoke the empire's name anymore. It was as if they had been wiped from memory. Kale leaned back in his chair, his heart pounding. "If this is true," he whispered, "then humans are not weak or passive. They are hiding something powerful, something the galaxy fears." His colleagues mocked him whenever he spoke of it. "You believe bedtime stories," they said. "The humans, they are primitives, barely capable of surviving on a dangerous world. If they were strong, they would already be part of the council." But Kyle only shook his head. He felt something deeper, something the others could not see. Fear did not last for centuries without a reason. Far away, near the dark edge of human space, life was not quiet. Hidden colonies circled dim suns, and deep inside asteroid fields, massive stations powered by human hands kept watch. Humans did not broadcast their presence to the galaxy. They did not show their true numbers or their ships, but they were always watching. From silent control rooms, they tracked every foreign vessel that came near. From black warships cloaked in shadows, they followed intruders without ever being seen. If a pirate strayed too far inside, the humans made sure he never came out again. On one such station, Captain Elena Ward sat before a wall of screens. Her crew worked in silence, eyes sharp, hands steady. "Contact on the border," an officer reported. "Rhinari vessel, observer class, not crossing but holding position." Elena studied the readings. The Rhinari ship was harmless, but it reminded her of the task she carried: to guard humanity's space. For generations, they had chosen not to expand, not to conquer, but to defend. If the galaxy wanted to think of human space as cursed, so be it. Fear was the best shield. Back in the Rhinari capital, Kale prepared for his next step. He wanted proof, not just rumors. His friends warned him, "You'll end up like the others, lost in the dark." But Kale's curiosity burned stronger than fear. He applied for a place aboard the fleet of the Zorian Dominion, a minor but ambitious empire. The Dominion had long dreamed of expanding near human borders. Their leaders mocked the stories of phantom ships and vanishing armadas. They believed humans were only clever liars hiding behind myths. Soon they planned to send patrols closer to the Forbidden Zone, and Kyle saw his chance. The day Kyle left his homeworld, his mother gave him a final warning. Some secrets are hidden for a reason. Do not go searching for the dark, child. The dark may look back. Kyle promised he would be careful, but in his heart, he knew he could not stop. He had to see for himself. During the long journey, Kale listened to the soldiers boast about how easily they would map human space. If they even exist, one laughed. Maybe it's just empty void, and fools imagine ghosts. But Kale stayed quiet. He remembered the fear in the smuggler's eyes, the silence in the ancient records, the warnings that had lasted centuries. Ghosts did not leave broken empires behind. As the fleet approached the border, tension grew. Sensors flickered strangely, as if the void itself was restless. The commanders laughed it off, blaming old equipment. But Kale felt something watching. At night, when the stars burned outside his cabin window, he felt eyes in the dark, patient and cold. He began to write. In his journal, they are there. They are waiting. We are crossing into a place that does not belong to us. The others do not see it, but I do. We are intruders. The closer they drew to human space, the louder the whispers became. Whispers among the crew. Whispers from his own memory. Stories of fleets vanishing, of invisible hunters. Kale thought of the erased empire, of names lost to history. He wondered if his name would vanish too, swallowed by the border. The Zorian Dominion fleet entered the Forbidden Zone with pride. 20 warships of shining steel formed a great wedge, engines burning bright, banners of their empire glowing on their hulls. Their commanders spoke boldly, promising swift victory over the shadows of human space. Kyle stood on the bridge of the cruiser Valar's Honor, recording everything in his journal. His long fingers scratched across the glowing slate as the fleet pushed deeper into the border. The soldiers around him laughed and sang, their voices full of arrogance. They believed they would return home with proof that the old stories were lies. But Kale did not laugh. His sharp eyes watched the screens carefully. Every hour, the sensors flickered, showing shapes that vanished before they could be locked. The officers dismissed it as static. Kyle whispered to himself, no, that is not static, that is movement. The first sign came quietly. A scout frigate moved ahead of the fleet, mapping the stars. Its signal blinked once on the fleet's display, and then went silent. The commander barked at the communications officer. Get them back online. But the channel was dead. No distress call, no explosion, no debris. The frigate was simply gone. Sensor glitch, the admiral declared. Keep formation. Kale felt his chest tighten. He wrote. One ship vanished. No trace. The darkness swallowed it whole. Hours later, another frigate vanished. This time, the crew saw only a flash on the edge of their screens, a burst of kinetic fire too fast to track. The ship broke apart in silence, its wreckage drifting cold. The bridge of Kale's cruiser grew quiet. The admiral's face turned red with anger. We are being stalked, he admitted at last. All ships tighten formation, weapons ready. The fleet closed ranks, their guns aimed outward. Yet no enemy appeared. Kyle stared into the void. He felt the presence of something out there, something patient, and then he saw it. A shape darker than space itself slid across the stars. Sleek and silent, its edges shimmered as if bending light. It was a ship, but unlike any Kale had ever seen. It moved like a predator, gliding with deadly grace. Before the crew could react, the shadow launched a streak of fire. One of the Dominion destroyers erupted into flames, breaking apart under the impact. Contact! Enemy vessel! The sensor officer screamed. But by the time the Dominion guns turned, the human ship was gone, swallowed again by the dark. Panic spread. Orders flew across the fleet. Cannons roared into the void, blasting blindly at shadows. But the humans did not fight in the open. They struck, vanished, and struck again. Each attack was precise, tearing apart another Dominion ship. Kyle clung to his chair, his throat dry. He whispered, "They are hunters. They strike like wolves. We are prey." The admiral, furious, commanded the fleet to press forward. "Break into squadrons," he shouted. "Flush them out." But splitting apart only made it easier for the humans. Smaller groups were hunted one by one. Kyle's cruiser joined a squadron of 4 ships. Together they crept through the border, scanning, firing flares into the void. That was when the humans revealed their true power. From the dark, 3 ships appeared, surrounding them. They were black, their hulls absorbing light, their weapons glowing faintly. They did not fire immediately. They simply watched. The silence on the bridge was unbearable. "Open fire," the squadron leader screamed. Cannons roared, beams of plasma cut through the void. But the human ships moved with impossible speed, twisting aside, their return fire striking with brutal precision. One Dominion cruiser broke apart instantly. Another was disabled, its engines ripped out in a single strike. Kale's ship shuddered as explosions rocked the hull. Lights flickered, alarms wailed. The crew screamed as systems failed one by one. Kale's hands shook, but his eyes never left the screen. He saw the human ships moving like dancers, weaving between the blasts, never missing a shot. "Retreat! Retreat!" came the order at last. The survivors turned and fled, engines burning. The human ships did not chase far. They let the Dominion crawl back toward the border, broken and terrified. When Kale finally looked up, only half the fleet remained. Of 20 proud warships, 11 were gone. 4 more were crippled, barely holding together. His own ship, the Valar's Honor, limped forward, its hull scorched. On the bridge, silence fell heavy. Soldiers who once boasted now sat pale and shaking. Officers stared at their ruined displays. The admiral himself slumped in his chair, his pride shattered. Kale wrote in his journal with trembling hands, "The legends are true. Humans are shadows in the dark. They strike with skill no empire can match. They do not fight for conquest. They fight only to keep outsiders away. We entered their space and they punished us. We are not their equals. We are prey." As the fleet crawled back across the border, Kyle looked one last time into the dark. There, just beyond sensor range, he thought he saw them. Human ships watching silently, making sure the Dominion left. Not chasing, not boasting, only guarding. The fleet returned home in disgrace. The Dominion leaders were furious. To the galaxy, they would claim it was an accident, that their ships had suffered technical failures. They would never admit they had been beaten so completely. But Kale knew the truth. He had seen human ships move like shadows, strike like thunder. He had seen proud warriors break in terror. Kale returned to the Dominion capital in silence. His cruiser, Valar's Honor, limped into port like a wounded beast. Its hull was torn, its engines weak, and its crew pale with shock. The once proud soldiers who had set out boasting now walked with heads lowered. They had seen something they could not explain, something that had broken their courage. When Kyle stepped onto the docks, Dominion officials swarmed the survivors. They asked sharp questions, wrote fast reports, and pulled the officers away for private debriefings. Kale expected the truth to be told, that humans had destroyed the fleet with terrifying skill. But instead he heard the officials whispering, "Do not speak of humans. The council must not hear weakness." This was a mechanical failure, nothing more. Kyle stood in disbelief. "Mechanical failure?" he shouted at one official. 11 warships destroyed, 4 crippled, and you call it failure of machinery? I saw the enemy with my own eyes. They were human ships. The official cut him off sharply. "Historian, you will stay silent. What you saw does not leave this room. The Dominion will not spread tales that make us appear weak. Do you understand?" Kale's hands shook. His long neck stiffened with anger. "You would bury the truth? You would hide the fact that humans are stronger than all of us? The official leaned closer, his voice low. Yes. If the galaxy learns that one hidden species can defeat us so easily, panic will spread. Trade will collapse. Fear will grow. The Council will question our power. No empire will admit such humiliation. So you will keep your words locked away. Kyle left in silence, but his heart burned. He knew the truth, and he refused to let it vanish. He returned to his quarters and began writing everything he had seen. Every shadow, every strike, every ship lost. He recorded the fear in the soldiers' eyes, the silence of the human hunters, the patience of their attacks. He wanted proof for future generations so that no one could deny what had happened. But even as he wrote, Cale knew others had tried before him. He remembered the ancient record he had found in the Grand Library, the story of a forgotten empire erased from history. Perhaps those survivors had spoken too, only to be silenced. Perhaps their warnings had been hidden just as the Dominion now planned to hide his. The more he thought about it, the more he realized humans had shaped their entire reputation through silence. They never spread their victories. They never bragged or threatened. They let others tell the stories, let the fear grow like a shadow. And because of that, they remained a mystery even to the greatest empires. Cale understood something chilling. That night, humans do not need to boast. Their silence is their greatest weapon. While Cale wrestled with the truth far away, deep within human space, the watch continued. Captain Elena Ward stood inside a dark command center on the hidden station, Aegis 9. Before her, massive screens showed the Dominion fleet limping away. The operators around her watched silently, tracking every ship until it was safely beyond the border. They won't be back soon, one officer said with quiet satisfaction. Elena nodded. No, they have been reminded. She leaned forward, her eyes hard. Record everything. Every maneuver, every strike. We'll study their responses. Each empire that tests us is another lesson. The humans had always been this way. They did not invade. They did not seek new colonies beyond what they already held. Instead, they studied. Every empire that wandered too close became another example, another set of tactics to learn from. In silence, the humans grew stronger, while the galaxy believed them to be ghosts. A younger officer turned to Elena. Captain, why not destroy them all? Why let any of them escape? Elena's lips curved into a thin smile. Fear spreads faster when survivors carry it home. If no one returns, the galaxy forgets. If one ship crawls back with stories of our strength, the galaxy remembers. Her words hung heavy in the room. Every officer knew it was true. The greatest defense of human space was not their weapons alone. It was the fear seated in alien minds, the stories that lasted centuries. Meanwhile, Cale dug deeper. He visited smugglers who had sailed near the border. He listened to their trembling voices as they spoke of shadows that followed them for days, of signals scrambled without reason, of sudden bursts of static that sounded almost like whispers. He searched the archives again, but he found more records sealed and erased. It was as if someone had swept away entire pages of history. Every time a fleet had been lost near human space, the reports were locked away. Every time an empire had tried to push inside, the story was buried. The Council of Species, the great body that ruled the galaxy, had chosen to stay silent. Cale began to wonder if they too feared humans more than they admitted. One night, while poring over stolen data, Cale found a fragment of an old report. It spoke of humans not only defending, but also observing. It suggested that humans had built stations hidden in asteroid belts, moons hollowed into fortresses, and ships that could vanish from sensors at will. The final line of the report chilled Cale's blood. They watch us as we watch them. They know more about our fleets than we know about their existence. Cale leaned back, trembling. They are not ghosts, he whispered. They are watchers. Silent, patient watchers. His warnings, of course, were ignored. Dominion officials spread their false report across the empire. The fleet was damaged by unstable engines, they announced. No enemy contact. No human ships. The galaxy accepted the explanation. Traders shook their heads, smugglers laughed, and rival empires mocked the Dominion's weakness. The whispers of human power remained just whispers, dismissed by most. But Kale's eyes told him otherwise. He had seen. And he knew that if the galaxy continued to dismiss the truth, more fleets would vanish into the border. Late at night, Kale stared at the stars outside his window. He remembered the black ships moving, like shadows. He remembered the silence before they struck. He remembered how they had not chased, not conquered, not even spoken. They had only watched. They don't want war, Kyle muttered to himself, but they will fight to keep us out, and no empire alive can stop them. In the dark reaches of human space, Elena Ward stood before a map filled with glowing red dots, the locations of every foreign ship that had dared to approach. She placed a hand on the map and whispered words that only her crew could hear. No empire crosses into human space. Not now. Not ever. Her crew nodded in silence. They did not cheer. They did not smile. They knew the truth as well as she did. They were guardians of a secret that the galaxy only half believed. And far away, Kale was beginning to piece together that same truth. He did not know yet how far the humans' watch extended. He did not know yet that the last empire to invade had been erased so completely its name was lost forever. But he was close. The galaxy laughed at him, mocked him, ignored him. But Kyle did not care. He had seen the Watchers in the dark. He knew the truth. The Galactic Council had been hearing whispers for decades. Scholars and traders spoke of humans with strange powers, fleets that could vanish, and entire armadas destroyed without warning. Yet the Council had dismissed these stories as exaggerations, myths born from fear. Until the Dominion's last fleet returned, broken, limping, and frightened. The Council convened in the towering halls of the Celestium, the great space station where representatives from every empire gathered. Crystal spires shimmered with alien light and floors hummed with energy from thousands of civilizations. The mood was tense. No empire had ever admitted fear openly. Until now. Ambassadors argued fiercely. "The Dominion reports are clear," shouted a Renari delegate. 11 ships destroyed, 4 crippled. Their sensors recorded shapes faster than our technology can track. A golden-skinned Zilari representative waved a clawed hand. "We cannot ignore this. If humans are stronger than us, they may be the galaxy's greatest threat, and we have done nothing but laugh." But others were skeptical. "Perhaps the Dominion exaggerates," said the Andari envoy. "Maybe it was poor training or faulty engines. We have no proof humans even have the technology to destroy fleets so quickly." Kale sat among the observers, his heart racing. He had begged the Council to investigate human space, but now that they had agreed, he felt no joy. The warnings he had written, the evidence he had collected, all could not truly capture what the humans were capable of. After days of heated discussion, the Council made a dangerous decision. They would send an official expedition into human space. It would be the largest mission ever undertaken. 50 warships, dozens of scientific vessels, hundreds of elite soldiers, and Kyle himself as an observer and historian. The goal was simple: gather proof, establish contact, and if possible, force humanity to reveal itself. The fleet departed with great ceremony. Alarms rang, banners waved, and speeches were made. The ambassadors were sure the humans would greet them diplomatically, or at least acknowledge the expedition. The galaxy had never understood human silence. Most thought it a weakness. Kale watched in silence as the fleet moved closer to the border. He remembered the last expedition, the Dominion fleet, destroyed without mercy. His stomach twisted with dread. He wrote in his journal, "The humans do not seek war, but they will protect their space, and we are trespassing. The Council does not understand the risk. We are walking into a trap." The fleet crossed the first marker of human space cautiously. Sensors flickered, communications became unreliable, and strange readings appeared on every screen. Some officers claimed it was interference from unknown particles. Others whispered of the ghost ships that haunted the void. Kale knew it was something else entirely. For days, nothing happened. The humans did not strike. The council officers began to relax, laughing at the supposed myths. "See," said Admiral Vortas of the Andari fleet. "Nothing has touched us. The stories were lies." Kale shook his head. "They are waiting," he warned. "Patience is their weapon. They are not attacking yet because they do not need to. They will strike only when it benefits them most." His words were dismissed. Council leaders believed in their numbers, their weapons, their fleets. The largest armada ever assembled for exploration and diplomacy in the galaxy felt invincible. Yet, the deeper they traveled, the stranger the border became. Abandoned colonies drifted silently in space. Planets seemed empty, as if their cities had been abandoned centuries ago. Sensors detected no life, no traffic, nothing familiar. It was eerie and unnatural. Some scientists aboard whispered nervously, wondering if the humans had left ghost stations behind to frighten intruders. Kale, however, observed patterns. The planets were not abandoned. He noticed subtle signs: controlled energy readings from underground facilities, subtle communications networks buried deep in the planet's crusts, traces of cloaked ships moving faster than light in the distance. Humans were everywhere, and nowhere. They had built an empire of shadows. The council fleet pressed on, confident that they were nearing the heart of human space. And that was when the humans chose to reveal themselves. It began quietly. A single blip on the sensor screens, AI, shape darker than the void, moving in perfect silence. Then another appeared, and another. Soon dozens of shapes circled the fleet unseen until they revealed themselves. Human warships emerged from cloaked positions. They were larger than any council vessel, sleek and black, with weapons that glowed faintly and moved with deadly precision. They did not attack immediately. They simply surrounded the fleet, cutting off every escape route, positioning themselves like predators around a wounded prey. Kale's heart pounded. He had never seen anything like this. Every maneuver, every placement was calculated. The humans had anticipated the fleet's path before it even left the first marker of human space. The council officers were stunned. "Shields up, weapons ready," shouted Admiral Vortas. Cannons fired, lasers streaked across space, but the humans moved too fast. Shots missed or dissipated harmlessly against cloaked or deflective fields. The humans did not chase. They did not shout. They simply waited, watching every move, then suddenly they struck. A single human warship fired a precision volley. Within moments, 2 council destroyers were shattered, their explosions silent but deadly. Panic rippled through the fleet. Officers barked orders, but coordination failed. The humans anticipated. Every tactic countered every maneuver and struck where it hurt the most. Kale felt the bridge shake as blasts hit his own cruiser. Alarms wailed, lights flickered, and systems failed one by one. Soldiers screamed, trying to regain control, but the humans moved faster than anyone could react. From the center of the formation, a human command ship transmitted a single message. "You were warned. No empire crosses into human space." The words echoed through every channel, calm and firm, yet they carried the weight of centuries of preparation. The council fleet realized, too late, that it had underestimated the humans completely. The Armada, the most powerful the galaxy had ever assembled for diplomacy and proof, was now trapped in a hunter's game it could not hope to win. Kale clutched the console, his face pale. He recorded every movement, every strike, every loss. The humans were not cruel. They were not reckless. They were simply perfect guardians of their space. Silent, patient, and devastating. Hours passed. The council fleet struggled to retreat, but every path was blocked. The humans allowed some ships to withdraw slowly, leaving them with the knowledge of their defeat, while others were disabled and forced to retreat in shame. Kyle realized something else. Humans did not conquer. They did not enslave. They did not destroy civilizations for fun or power. Every strike was a warning, a lesson, a calculated measure to ensure no outsider would ever again test their borders. The fleet finally pulled back, limping, broken, and humiliated. The council officers who had laughed and mocked the human myths now stared in silence, their arrogance gone. Kyle knew that many would never forget what had happened here, but the humans did not celebrate. They returned to their stations and warships, disappearing once again into the void. Silent watchers, patient and hidden, they had made their point. No empire, no council, no fleet would dare cross into their space without extreme caution. Kyle wrote in his journal, hands trembling. The council thought they could test them. They were wrong. The humans do not fight for glory or empire. They fight for survival and secrecy. They are the galaxy's hidden predators, and we are merely prey who do not yet understand the rules. As the fleet retreated toward the border, Kale glanced at the stars and felt a new understanding. The humans had spent centuries learning, studying, observing. They had prepared for every possible attack, anticipated every empire, every fleet, every plan, and they had done it without ever revealing their true strength. He realized that the galaxy would never truly understand humans. They were not only strong, they were patient, silent, and smarter than anyone could imagine. They had chosen to remain hidden, to let fear do their work for them, and to ensure survival without conquest. Kyle felt a chill. He had seen the humans, at their best, and he knew the galaxy would pay a heavy price if anyone tried to test them again. The Council's gamble had failed, and Kale understood, more clearly than ever, why no empire dared to cross into human space. The shattered Council fleet returned from human space in silence. What remained of its ships drifted slowly back to known territory, battered, burned, and humiliated. Officers and soldiers who had once carried themselves with pride now walked, with heads bowed. Some refused to speak at all, afraid their words might betray the full truth. Kyle, the Renari historian, was among them. He sat quietly in his cabin aboard the lead ship, penning his observations with urgency. Every detail, every movement, every subtle tactic of the humans had been recorded. He had witnessed weapons faster than thought, stealth so perfect that fleets vanished in an instant in a calm precision that left no margin for error. He wrote, "Humans are not merely defenders. They are predators hidden in plain sight. They do not attack for conquest, yet no force in the galaxy can challenge them and survive." No one around him dared to contradict the account. Even the most arrogant council officers understood that what Kale had seen was true, and yet they could not bring themselves to speak it aloud. When they arrived at the nearest council hub, Kale was summoned to meet the highest council members. Representatives from dozens of empires crowded the chamber, their faces a mixture of disbelief, anger, and fear. "You call this a fleet?" demanded one Zalari delegate. "Our finest ships, reduced to ash by what? Ghosts?" Kyle did not hesitate. "Not ghosts," he said firmly. "Humans. Hidden humans with weapons and strategy beyond imagination. They are not cruel. They do not conquer. They defend. And yet, they are stronger than any empire alive." The room erupted in murmurs. Council members argued among themselves, some refusing to believe that a species which had never expanded or fought openly could be so powerful. Others whispered nervously, realizing the truth. The humans had spent centuries preparing for this moment while the galaxy ignored them. A few brave voices spoke up. "Why have they remained silent?" asked a Rhinari ambassador. "Why not conquer? Why not trade?" Kyle looked around the chamber and answered clearly. "Because they do not need to. Their power is such that none would survive a direct conflict. Their silence is their greatest weapon. Fear travels faster than fleets. Legends survive longer than battles. They have built themselves an empire of shadows. One mistake, one misstep, and the galaxy would know the truth, and perhaps pay the price." The council finally sent word across the stars. No empire crosses into human space. Traders and merchants who had long suspected tales of human power now understood. Stories of disappearing fleets, unseen weapons, and shadowy ships no longer seemed like exaggeration. They were warnings. Rumors grew into lawless fear. Smugglers abandoned routes near the human border. Pirates refused to sail beyond known space, and ambitious empires recalculated their expansion plans. Kale traveled across the council worlds to spread the truth. He spoke quietly but firmly to those who would listen, recounting the events, describing the humans in detail. Some dismissed him as a fanatic. Others listened with growing terror. Every account he shared carried the same message. Humanity's strength was not in aggression, but in preparation, observation, and strategy. Kyle knew he had a responsibility. The galaxy had nearly underestimated humans, but now the record would stand. Future generations of scholars, commanders, and traders would remember that one species, silent, patient, and unseen, held power unmatched by any empire. Back in human space, Captain Elena Ward watched from the command room of Aegis 9. Her screens displayed calm activity. Ships patrolling borders, training exercises, and stations monitoring alien movements. Not a single celebration occurred. The humans had proven their point, and that was enough. "Report," she said quietly. "Council fleet has returned," replied her officer. "They are spreading word. The galaxy fears us." Elena nodded. "It must be so. Fear is better than war. Knowledge too early would invite conflict. We have waited long enough. Let them remember the stories and respect the silence." Humans did not need to conquer. They did not need to boast. Their presence alone, hidden and prepared, ensured that the galaxy never challenged them. Meanwhile, Kale returned to the Renari, homeworld, to give his final report. Officials listened in stunned silence as he described every tactic, every maneuver, every subtle warning the humans had employed. A young officer whispered, "They are untouchable?" Kale's eyes were hard, reflecting both awe and fear. "Yes, not because they fight recklessly, not because they seek empire, but because they understand the galaxy better than anyone. They strike only when needed. They let fear guard them, and they never ever reveal everything they can do." The implications were terrifying. Empires had wasted centuries ignoring humans, believing them weak. The galaxy had nearly tested their patience and paid the price. Now the lesson was clear. Humans were a species apart. Invisible yet powerful, patient yet deadly, silent yet known by everyone who dared to approach their space. The whispers became legend. Across empires, fleets spoke in hushed tones of the hidden humans. Traders rerouted trade lanes to avoid borders. Pirates abandoned entire sectors. Scholars wrote of black ships, invisible fortresses, and fleets destroyed by shadows. Every story carried a single warning: do not cross into human space. Kale, however, knew the full truth. It was not fear alone that protected humanity. It was centuries of preparation, observation, and restraint. Humans had built an empire without empire, an empire no one could touch. And the galaxy, for all its size and ambition, finally understood why. Years passed. Kale continued his work, recording human strategies and the lessons of their silent war. The Council, forever humbled, revised their histories. They removed arrogance and replaced it with caution. The Dominion, once proud, became a symbol of failure and humility. Yet humans remained hidden. They watched the stars, still patient, still prepared. No new fleets crossed the border. No empire dared challenge them. The galaxy never again underestimated humanity. And Kale, the Renari historian, often reflected in quiet moments. If humans had wanted to conquer, they could have ruled the galaxy centuries ago. But they chose restraint. They chose patience. And that, above all else, made them stronger than anyone could imagine. From the edge of the galaxy to the heart of the Council, one phrase became law, spoken quietly but firmly by every fleet commander: no empire crosses into human space.